This is the Alien Podcast on TV Podcast Industries, and we're here discussing Alien Earth, Episode 2, Mr. October.
You're making a mistake.
Shit. It's a cyborg. Don't move, don't blink.
Just stay calm, friend. They can sense fear.
Not your friend.
Put your hands behind your back and lock your fingers together now.
Just so you know, I'm the least of your problems.
Welcome back, fellow aliens, fellow Lost Boys, and fellow October babies. This is the Alien Podcast on TV Podcast Industries. We're here on to Episode 2 of Alien Earth, and we are discussing the episode Mr. October. As a lovely October baby myself, I'm one of your hosts, John.
And I'm your other host and other October baby, Derek. Yeah, we're both born in October.
We're both
21st and 25th, yeah.
I don't know what a Mr. October means. And until this description in Alien Earth, I wouldn't have known that.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Passed me by. Like, what does Mr. November do?
But actually, it's connected to Reggie Jackson, the baseball player that's mentioned in the episode. That is... Apparently, that's where the term Mr. October came from, because he was a person that won a baseball game that was considered unwinnable on a day in October and was called Mr. October from then on.
Excellent. Now I know something.
Well, I only know that because I was going, what the hell is Mr. October? I'm not sure. I'm sure about Joe's explanation of what Mr. October is. But, of course, we will go through all of the spoiler full details of this episode. How do you watch the episode? Otherwise, you have no idea what we're talking about.
Absolutely, yes. We got new alien life forms again, doing creepy stuff to... things that were on the ship. We have got the alien version of the French Revolution going on, and yes, much more besides. Let us get into our spoiler-filled discussion. But before we do, remember, pop on over, fellow aliens and fellow Lost Boys, to tvpodcastindustries.com, where you can subscribe to any good or evil podcast catcher of your choice. You can also leave a voicemail over there for our feedback section, as well as sending in any emails with thoughts, theories, observations to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com.
Yeah, we got some feedback in for the first couple of episodes. We saved it for this episode, so we're looking forward to hearing what our wonderful fellow listeners are thinking about Alien.
Yes.
So far, yeah.
And of course, don't forget, you can come on over to our Facebook group where we have our spoiler-filled posts, and you can leave comments there as well. Just head on over to facebook.com/groups/TV Podcast Industries. But without further ado, Derek, who gave us what, where, when, and how?
Well, the show, of course, is based on characters created by Dan O'Bannon, Ronald Shusett, and H.R. Geiger.
Okay, that's interesting. And not Ridley Scott? Well, kind of put them together, I guess, but...
Yeah, Ridley Scott's the director of the first movie, of course, and heavily involved. I think he's even an executive producer on this show as well. But no, the characters are created by the writers of the original Alien movie, Dan O'Bannon and Ronald Shusett, and H.R. Geiger created the style of the character of Alien, of course.
And there's a really good documentary around how actually Ridley Scott took the Alien movie on board after it kind of fell apart originally in its original conception.
Very good.
But I'll find out and come back on the next podcast, because it's just that really interesting idea of someone picking up the baton of their creative idea or that production within a film and movie house system and running with it and making ultimately such a hit. You know,
yeah.
So many talk about people doing reshoots and so on, and that means it's going to be a bad movie. But here, it was actually taking something that collapsed in on itself for various reasons and made an absolute classic.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That'd be really interesting. I wonder, was it just something that's on the extras of the Blu-rays or anything like that?
Maybe. I need to double check now, because I remember thinking it was kind of like a little short documentary about it. But it may have been extras on the DVD or Blu-ray.
Yeah, well, so far after watching the first 2 episodes of Alien Earth, I know I'm going to be going back and watching the full quadrilogy again, plus all the AVPs and everything else, because I'm so into Alien at the moment.
Don't get carried away.
I'll be watching them all again, of course, as I always do. But the executive producer of the show, as we mentioned before, is Noah Hawley. He's the writer of this episode, but the episode was directed by Gonzales. He was the director and cinematographer on Fargo and Legion, along with Noah Hawley. So again, bringing along someone from
worked together
the
before.
previous work. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Which is always cool. And there's some really interesting moments in this episode that took a really strong director to deliver, definitely. John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for Alien Earth, Episode 2, Mr. October?
Sure. The head of Prodigy Corporation, Boy Kavalier, tells his colleague Dame Sylvia that he formed the hybrid project to compete with artificial intelligence and has granted Wendy additional abilities as he wishes to create a person smarter than him. He declines Weyland-Yutani's request to secure the Maginot's proprietary contents, warning any incursion on his territory will be considered a hostile act. Meanwhile, at the crash site, Hermit is chased by a xenomorph and separated from his colleagues. It tracks him to the higher floors of the tower, killing another soldier and massacring an entire apartment of wealthy residents who refuse to evacuate. He is saved by Morrow, who tases the xenomorph and then him. Morrow encases the alien in a membrane and leaves to escape the Prodigy-controlled area, but the xenomorph regains consciousness and escapes after killing numerous other soldiers. Mysteriously, it spares Morrow as it leaves. Arriving in Prodigy City, hybrids Tootles, Smee, Nibs and Curly encounter 2 other dangerous extraterrestrial specimens. A hanging pod that looks like Flora, but which Kirsch believes to be fauna, and Octi-Eyeball, an eyeball with tentacles. Meanwhile, Wendy locates her brother with Slightly, a fellow hybrid, but Hermit doesn't recognize Wendy as his sister Marcy. Slightly reveals her true identity to a shocked Hermit, who was told his sister had died. Hermit realizes it's his sister Marcy after Wendy recounts very specific memories from their childhood. The 3 encounter several xenomorph eggs and are ordered by Kirsch to contain them until a hazmat team arrives. But they are tracked by a xenomorph who falls through a hole in the ship with Hermit. Wendy chases after the 2 as Slightly stays behind to guard the omelette.
Yes, all of those eggs left behind for Slightly to guard.
Yes, I really, really like this episode. I think there's some really cute and cutely shocking moments in this. I mean, and I think that whole thing where Wendy tells Slightly to stay behind to guard the omelette, this, chamber with 4 of the xenomorph eggs, just thought it was really nice. But there's some other elements here, certainly when Wendy is answering her brother Joe's questions about their childhood. Some really nice aspects there, which I thought were really good. And then there's some really good dark comedy as well.
Yes, without a doubt.
As I said up front, the alien French Revolution effectively taking place, as well as, Kitty's got tentacles, basically. But we'll get to this in the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let us get on to our top moments of the episode.
Yeah, where do you want to start, John?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the top moments to note here is this kind of conversation between Boy Kavalier and then Dame Sylvia. I love the fact here that Boy Kavalier calls it an intelligence race, and it's to improve the human experience, and he wants to compete with AI, but it not to be AI. And so he does actually indicate here about all the additional upgrades and enhancements that he has given Wendy. I mean, I think she is a hybrid in a larger sense of the word. It's not just that she is a synth with human memories transferred in. She is a synth with cybernetic enhancements that would be given to the cyborgs, like Morrow.
Right.
And so that, she could quite easily have a knife in her hand.
Oh,
like, I think just the fact that, she can run fast, jump from very high up, and that she doesn't get tired. That's all the synthetic element. But I think, this idea that she's carrying the guillotine cutter on her back as though it's magnetic, I think it could be some element of that as well. But I think ultimately what we get here is this really interesting conversation between Kavalier and Dame Sylvia about improving the human experience. And
it's fascinating, isn't it? I just love that she's pushing that. He's going, I want to make sure that humans are still at the forefront of this technological breakthrough of keeping humans alive. And she's going, no, but we need to ensure that their lives are improved as well. Otherwise, all we've done is made the consumers immortal. I love that.
It's so good.
Because it is that balance between someone that's got a scientific concept, like Arthur, her husband, and herself, this scientific concept about how they can create the immortal human being, but not having the money behind it to create that. So I guess in this case, Boy Kavalier is the money behind it, and he also has the same belief in it, but he's not delivering what they would do if they were, let's say, disconnected from the company.
It's the notion of the public good. It's that there is something that ultimately has to be commercialized. And that's the lens that increasingly you see Boy Kavalier looking through, but also this selfish lens of, actually, I just did all this because I've got loads of money to waste at things.
Yeah.
And
Trillion.
I want to be able to have someone who I can talk to without sort of it being boring or whatever. So the egocentricness of Boy Kavalier, the selfishness, the blinkered view of anything down to himself and commercializing it. And beyond anything else, that blinkered view of the world is what really gets exposed here by Dame Sylvia in some respects.
Yeah, and just the absolute arrogance of this kid to say, in the presence of Dame Sylvia, who's created this whole concept, to go, I'm sick of being the smartest person in the room, and I want to create something that I can have a conversation with. Can you imagine the person that's sitting opposite him, a scientist who's created these beings now, with the Lost Boys and with Wendy, sitting in the room with this guy going, oh yeah, I've spent all my money just because I want to have a conversation with somebody that's at least as intelligent as me. Sorry, kid, you're not intelligent, you're rich. There's a difference.
He might be intelligent. I'm not saying that he's not intelligent.
I feel like this might be a commentary on a certain person who's very rich but not very intelligent.
But it's how you utilize the intelligence, and I think
I'm not saying I'm as intelligent as him either, but I'm saying he's talking to a person who's created something that's not been seen in human existence and saying he's more intelligent than her.
But I think what the show is picking up by bringing it into that Blade Runner world and of corporations running the planet is the show is connecting in with, I think, that juncture here. I'm not going to say that, countries are suddenly going to disappear. I don't know whether that is the case. I mean, there'd have to be serious issues. But equally, I think it's the notion that it's the lens at which corporations view things. So yes, they'll have social corporate responsibility. I'm not saying that they don't do good stuff and it's not worthwhile. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not Marxist or anything like that. But what I am saying is that when your lens just becomes about the profit and loss of anything, then that is the overriding principle of corporations. And this is what is being borne out here with Kavalier. from the point of view that he's their CEO and head of Prodigy Corporation. But from his own point of view, which probably got him to that position, he's just an egotistical, self-centered, blinkered, technocratic, intelligent dictator that has a very narrow view of the world.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why Dame Sylvia's comment, like you've already said, about we just make immortal consumers. Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
What,
Exactly.
they're just going to keep buying and da-da-da-da-da. So anyway, it's a really interesting conversation. It throws up a lot of other questions, and I thought it was fascinating, to be honest.
Absolutely. I think it's just a really interesting part of the whole concept of the show in the second episode. So, I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of that discussion as the season goes on. Where do we go to next in the episode, John?
I think we have to go back to the USC SS Maginot. I mean, you've still got Hermit and his team searching the wreckage. I think it's quite interesting that there's a moment where they find another 3 dead bodies. He calls out an incident code of 1562. But interestingly, in this other room, there is another chest buster, or it looks like that. There's a hole in the chest of one of the dead bodies on the table. There's another one kind of caught up in sort of the pipes and so on from the ceiling.
Yeah.
And then there's another one that seems again to have had something different happen to them. And we hear Joe, aka Hermit, calling out that it was toxins because of the blue lips, but they do see this foreign body in the gastrointestinal tract from the facehugger.
Yeah.
And, you know, Hermit is calling it out that this is bad. It's an alien foreign body. And I think what's interesting as well is this whole lead up to this, you see them being stalked by the alien. Again,
so
very
good.
much in the background.
Yeah.
It's really, really well done.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it really comes to a head in the stairwell. And it's just a great moment.
This was the most exciting moment I've seen on an alien property for years on the stairwell. Just having the other 2 members of the team jumping across, that's nervous enough as you are that one of them might fall to their death because we don't know anything about them. You know, they're just part of the team. One of them could fall and the story could just continue going on because we haven't learned anything about them at all. We know loads about Joe, though, so you know he's not going to fall through the crack here. But you think that it's okay, they'll save him if he jumps across. And then he has that moment where the drool falls on his shoulder and he wonders what it is, looks up with his light and sees a xenomorph directly above him in the hole, and then has to make the jump really quickly as the xenomorph just moves with just this intense speed. All just misses him as he cracks off the floor and falls to the floor below his 2 colleagues. It's so exciting. I love when they get this right. And then the xenomorph chases him down the hallway as he enters the lift and closes those metal doors just in time. There's no way lift doors close that quickly, but I'm so glad they did.
Or open that quickly. Yeah, and I mean, like, he's walkie-talking it. He's kind of like I do like that. Actually, Hermit is quite composed. Yes, the drool comes down, but he immediately goes for his revolver and looks up with the revolver pointed. So he had some form of attack as his defense if he didn't jump. So
he's
I quite
calm
like
under
that.
pressure. Yeah.
And also, yes, he gets to safety, but he's immediately on the walkie-talkie describing, you know, it's about 9 foot, it's heavily armored, you know, it's an alien specimen of some description, unknown, and so on. He's running through that. Now, it doesn't get to anyone, but I just like how that works.
Absolutely.
It just feels real. It feels like someone who's been trained in, and technically, this is kind of a Prodigy Corporation security team. I you know, from what I understand,
well, search and rescue,
but hugely trained, you know,
absolutely.
and they're running through what they do, and so I kind of like that about the whole scene.
Absolutely,
it brings that realism to it, given what you know we're seeing, and I think what's really good is that we have then Hermit ultimately being tracked after that, because he gets split up from the other two people.
Yeah.
And then I just really enjoy, it's probably one of the most darkly comedic elements from this episode for me, which is where he bumps into another soldier who's kind of been separated, and immediately there's this kind of lordly toff with a sort of a 17th century Georgian wig on, pale face, sort of like Prince Regent,
from Blackadder,
from Blackadder, who then won't listen to the soldier to evacuate and goes back in to a party, oblivious that, you know, the building has just been crashed into.
I feel like it's a little bit of oblivious, but it's a little bit of, I don't care what's happening to the little people. We're having our party in here, because he says, if there was something bad going on, well, Boy Kavalier would call me directly, because he knows exactly who I am. There was a bit of that, you know, don't you dare knock on my door and tell me I have to leave. Boy Kavalier himself should be coming down here and telling me if there's anything important that I need to know about. We're in here having our party. But it's fantastic. You know, this is...
As soon as you saw them, you went, I really hope the alien gets his chops into them.
Absolutely.
And lo and behold, Noah Hawley gave us what we wanted, which was, as I've been describing it, it's the alien French Revolution, except there ain't no guillotine happening here.
A lot of them are losing their heads.
It is literally, they get slaughtered by the alien proletariat, I guess.
Absolutely. But they just have so many great touches in here. This is what I mentioned about the director of the episode having some amazing moments to do. The stairwell scene in itself, that jump across was cool. Yeah. But they do that thing that I remember from Aliens when you watched it the first time, or it's been a long time since I watched it, but those, maybe even the third or fourth time that you watch it, when you realize the Xenos are right behind some of the characters during that movie in Aliens. And in this, these scenes here when Herman is talking to that other, there's a member of the team that he meets, right behind him on the statue, you go, oh, hang on a second, was that the Xenos standing on the statue? And then it unfurls itself in the next scene in the background, and you go, oh god, I was right, I saw it. Oh, that's not good. And then it runs inside and kills everybody in the party.
It is really cool. Good, that sort of just the silhouette of it, and then it moves. And I mean, the soldiers killed with, you know, the alien's second mouth, which Family Guy has ruined. It's kind of like, oh, hi, how are you doing? No, it's just so funny, from Family Guy. But no, you know, so that's straight into the head. And I love like how it's whirling it around.
Oh.
But like you say, it's clearly just for fun. It's not consuming this prey.
Yeah.
Like, it's flinging the soldier around, the gun's still going off. And in
that
the end,
noise as well. That's that noise of the machine gun unloading every single bullet that's in the barrel. That's a real iconic Aliens type noise, isn't it?
Like, it was really good. But I must say, I just thought Noah Hawley did that. He had the alien take out all the party goers dressed up in their kind of Regency type dress, thinking money, status, whatever didn't matter. So it was very cool.
Yeah, you're totally right. You did just want to see them taken out, and that's what Noah Hawley delivered. You know, there was a moment when he answered the door originally that I was going, is that Mark Gatiss? Like, we've seen him a lot. He's an actor who was in League of Gentlemen, was in Sherlock. He's been in loads of stuff. Even this year he was in Fantastic Four. We said that almost in time together, John, like we were doing the theme. But I thought it was Mark Gatiss there. But the commentary here, apparently, which Noah Hawley says he's not sure whether he gets across, is this is all about the class struggle. There are people that live on the higher levels in this building that are in higher classes. The people in the lower levels are below ground, some of them, so they're in the lower classes effectively. So he kind of wanted to have that moment of taking out someone from the higher classes. If you remember back to the original Alien movie, there was the argument going on between the engineers who were only getting paid a day rate, and everybody else who was getting a bonus for returning home from their mission.
Exactly. And you actually get that from the engineers on the Maginot.
Yeah.
You get that also after the immediate crash, where he says, you know, send in the search and rescue, and do it by income bracket. That's what Boy Kavalier says.
Oh, right,
like,
yeah.
So like a real explicit, blatant, go in and assign them, recovery and whatever by income bracket.
So that's why Hermit meets one of the other members of the team up in the higher levels, because they've gone to the higher levels first.
I guess so, yeah.
I guess so. There's another connection to this in the next point I want to bring up, which is the flashback to the day before. We saw a bit of a conversation in the first episode with Hermit where he's talking to his team, saying they're asking him about what did the robot say. And now we see what happened in the previous day, which is where Hermit was trying to get into college to become an actual fully fledged doctor, not just a medic. He has an opportunity to go to college, has all the documentation that he needs, and he has to go through a robot to get assigned this position and get relieved from his duties as part of the search and rescue team. But the robot decides not to give him it. And the reason seems to be because Wendy took control of the robot to keep her brother where she wanted him to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is a really interesting scene.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I must say that was very interesting, and like she tells him later as well, like this. Yeah, she does. I mean, that's actually how she took control of the robot, because I didn't really clock that when you see the flashback. But
it was just that she starts off with the joke where he says something to her and she uses the joke from Ice Age. I think it's actually Ice Age 4. I haven't seen anything past, I think, the first Ice Age movie. But Hermit tells the robot when he's about to be refused the scholarship, he says to the robot, "Have a heart." And then under his breath says, "Or face my fury." And Wendy tells the robot to say, "You're furry what?" which is the line from Ice Age. And instantly there's that moment where Hermit's kind of going, hang on a second, what did he just say there? Yeah. But we find out later that this is Wendy in control. I love that moment, but we find out later that it's Wendy in control and that she's the one that chose to keep Hermit there on planet. I guess because she's on planet. Yeah.
Touching element, because he wants to resign so that he can go and complete his medical school training to fulfill a promise to his dead father. Mm-hmm. So, and I mean, we do get a flashback here of him and his father watching Reggie Jackson here when he finds the baseball in the lordship's apartment after everything that's gone down with the alien in there, So it is quite harsh, really.
It is,
but at least she's honest, I guess.
At least she tells him. Yeah, I guess the honesty of children is what you get.
I think the other side of the childlike thing is when they arrive as well. I mean, all these actors playing the Lost Boys are doing a really, really good job. I mean, there's a conversation, it's just off the cuff, where it's like, I miss baths. But I never liked baths when I was a child or alive. I can't remember what she actually says, but now I miss baths. You have Wendy saying, I miss eating, in the previous episode. But I love as they arrive at this huge incident site with the rocket, the spaceship crashed into the towers in the city. And there's, I think, two things from this for me is that, the others are all messing around like kids, and there's a colonel there who's in charge, and you saw him in the last episode on that roof as the spaceship crashes into New Siam, but he's there just going, what is this? Like, he doesn't say anything, but he's just kind of like, what is this? And again, it's the girl with the ginger hair. I can't remember her name, but she's making a paper plane. And by the end of it, you have Wendy saying, well, I'm going after him, because she sees Hermit again in the lift on the screen, and slightly goes with her at the command of Kirsch. Then the girl with the ginger hair throws the paper plane at the colonel in charge. He doesn't really understand what's happening here. It's like, have I just been left with the crazies?
Absolutely. What is going on?
What is happening?
Yeah.
And I just thought that was superb.
Absolutely.
I was chuckling at just this kind of group of kids messing around and the adult in the room at a significant incident headquarters sort of going, what is happening?
Yeah.
Like, how are any of these going to help? And why have they been brought here in the first place? So I just thought that was really captured spot on.
Absolutely. It's really interesting.
I think the other interesting thing that, and we get this through, is that Wendy hears this kind of buzzing as well, which is really, really interesting.
What is this? I know that we know that from the conversation that Boy Cavalier had that she is enhanced, that she has got enhanced abilities.
She must have enhanced, like, hearing.
Yeah, but the fact that she's able to specifically pick out the xenomorph.
I guess it's different ranges, so it might be like bats. Like, if you think about it, yes, they screech and scream and so on, but maybe there is a communication element that is kind of a bit like bats.
Yeah.
So it's above the normal range of human hearing, and she has got a vastly superior range of hearing.
Yeah, like we saw when Arthur was doing the tests on her in last episode, we saw her raise her hand every time she heard a noise. It's a standard test that you get, but we only heard 2 or 3 of the noises, and then she was still raising her hand as she was having the conversation. It was like almost like she was programmed to raise her hand every time she heard a noise, even, and is able to do 2 or 3 other things at the same time. She was looking for her brother in the crash. She was talking to him about why he didn't have children, and she was still raising her hand every time she heard a noise. So one of the other technicians in the room comments that she's way beyond the range of human hearing at this stage. So I guess that's one of the elements here, that she's able to hear the xenomorph from far away, and that allows her to track where the xeno's gone. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Very interesting.
So that was really interesting, definitely.
Let's quickly return to the party because it kind of brings in the other major character for the show, Morrow, as well. I just want to comment that I do love the subtitles as the massacre happens in the party, where it literally says on screen, "His Lordship and guests screaming." It came up in the subtitles as they're all killed. But the Xeno's not willing to let Hermit go. It's tracking Hermit as well as taking out everybody else around it. You know, I don't know. There's something about the way they're treating the xenomorph as a hunter who just wants to kill everything in its way. As you said, it's not killing for food, it's killing for fun. Just that makes it even more scary.
Yeah.
You know, it's not dragging them off to go back to form part of the Queen's design to be impregnated with more eggs, or to create new xenos.
Or
it's
Slurm.
just... Yeah, or Slurm. That's Futurama, in case you haven't seen that one. But it's literally ripping people in half and then going after the next one. You see His Lordship,
like, it's really
crawling
fast.
across the floor just with his legs gone and just with his arms before he dies. But Morrow comes in and is able to use basically a massive taser to take out both Hermit and the xenomorph, and then wraps the xenomorph in a netting and drags it off.
Yeah, it's like a sprayable membrane, or like that is hugely strong or whatever.
Yeah, and suddenly the hunter becomes the hunted. Almost,
it's really good. And he just drags it off. And we do have that interesting moment where then he's stopped by a group of Prodigy soldiers that, again, are sweeping and doing their search and rescue, and are asking him, well, what's in it? As the alien wakes up, gets out of this membrane, and is hugely quick in dispatching all these soldiers with guns. Again, another interesting moment here is that it leaves Morrow for the moment, but comes up behind him and kind of opens his mouth. And Morrow's ready. So again, his cybernetically enhanced arm and hand. This time it's a huge knife that's out the middle of it rather than a blowtorch. But he doesn't get to use it because... Now, I guess there's 2 theories here.
Okay. What have you got?
One is that it's mentioned that they've sensed fear and will go after fear.
That's right. Yeah.
And maybe that Morrow doesn't have that fear.
Yeah.
Is calm, collected. He's a security officer after all. He's also cybernetically enhanced, so that might have particular kind of, for a particular reason.
Mm-hmm.
But also, there are other soldiers at that moment that arrive before Morrow does anything.
Okay. Yeah.
And it distracts the alien and it goes off. So I'm not entirely sure yet what the story is.
I get that, but I think because it kills all of the other soldiers and specifically leaves Morrow, there's something more there. In my head, I was thinking, we've seen the bodies now from the Maginot. We've seen how many of them seem to have had face huggers impregnating them, and the Xenos coming out from inside of them. That's possibly done by Morrow. So has he almost imprinted on the Xenomorph as their mother or their father, and that's why they're treating him differently? Is that what it is? Is there something like that because he was there at their birth that they're thinking of him differently?
Maybe.
Or is it just it's much more fun to go after the ones with guns and weapons? This is great fun. Let's go and hunt them down and kill them all. It just gets distracted easily. It could be either of those things, as you say. But I just felt there was definitely something about it. But how it was filmed as well, where it was all filmed just close-up tight shot on Morrow as all of the guys behind them get taken out by the Xenomorph. I thought it was cool. Really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that stuff because the tendency would be when you're filming this stuff is really show the Xenomorph destroying everything around you. But you don't have to do that either. It's just as terrifying and just as even fun and exciting if you're just showing bits of what's happening, in the same way that he destroyed all the people at the party and we didn't get to see exactly what happened. You don't have to focus on him killing every single thing around him. You can also just show bits of bodies flying, and it's as exciting to watch, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the other nice little moment here is our introduction to a few of the other alien specimens that have been brought back here.
Mm-hmm.
So we have Kirsch and then the other members of the Lost Boys, with the exception of Slightly, who has gone with Wendy, heading down to the specimen lab. And they come across this pod hanging from the ceiling.
Oh, yes.
So that's really interesting. I'm like going, because I know that Noah Hawley said that with these other species, he wanted the audience through this series to track their developmental stages, like with the xenomorph of the egg, the face hugger, the chest buster, the xenomorph.
Yes.
And here we know that we've had Hoyt and Annette. They've been sucked dry of their blood by the kind of leech type bug.
Yep.
And I was wondering, even though we do see them in this episode drained, I'm wondering, is that the next stage of that bug? Or is this one of the other specimens that has been collected? But nonetheless, we see this, and it's just a real nice moment where Kirsch says, it looks like flora, but I suspect it's fauna.
Yes, like that a lot.
And one of the Lost Boys is left behind watching it, while with Kirsch actually, whilst the others are told to go into the specimen laboratory and to secure it.
Yeah. It's a really good point that you make, that it's possibly the one of the leech type aliens that were there, that it could be that rolled there and then set itself up, because how else is it there? How else would somebody have put this plant there that has grown in a few hours since the crash? It makes a lot of sense. It did remind me of something, John. Was it Half-Life, where you had the plants from above that would grab you and start dragging you into? It was Half-Life, wasn't it? I knew that was one of your favorite games, so I thought it was either that or Mass Effect.
And it would grab you up and you get taken into the pod. So it could be absolutely like that. Yeah,
could be inspired from that. But there's that moment when it leads out its tentacles almost from inside the egg towards the Lost Boy that's been watching it. Like, we have that moment, and he gets called away and leaves, but he's very intrigued by the tentacles that are going up towards his face. It's almost similar to the xenomorph realizing that, hang on a second, this isn't food, so it doesn't take him immediately, but the tentacles are coming out of the egg and going towards his face, as if it's about to drag him in.
Yeah, but when they first come across it as well, they all hang back, and Kirsch says, fear is for animals. You are not animals. And then you have this kind of conversation between a few of them where one, it's like, it's a monster, let's kill it.
Yeah.
And then the one who actually ends up standing with it for longer than the others says, well, scientists don't kill.
Yes.
But Kirsch effectively is there with the guy who thinks he's the scientist. He's the little kid who says, when I grow up, I want to be a scientist.
Very good catch.
And Smee, Nibs, and Curly, I think, are the three others that go into the specimen lab, where we do get another great moment and a great introduction to one of the other specimens that we've seen. So we saw I'm calling it the octi eyeball, where it's the eyeball on top of tentacles. So initially we just see a cat eating. And we remember the cat from one of the engineers. It was a ginger cat in episode 1.
Just like Jonesy
just
from
like
the original
Jonesy.
Alien.
Jonesy survived all the way through. Well, this one ain't so lucky.
Nope.
And you just see it's almost like zombified. Like you almost think it's a bit of a zombie. And next thing,
it's just its legs dragging behind it.
Well, I don't think it has any legs.
No, it has back legs. It's dragging behind it. Yeah.
And
Awful,
then its left eye pops out and it dies.
Yeah.
But it is the octi eyeball, the tentacled eyeball, who then goes running for one of the Lost Boys, where the tentacles grab onto the hand to try and pull it into its eye socket.
Yeah.
It's just so good. And by the time they manage to prevent it from attaching itself onto the eyeball of one of the Lost Boys, and another one has it underneath this metal container.
Yeah, Smee finally gets it under the metal container.
Puts on a microscope and then holds on for dear life for the rest of it. It's just so good. And I just like how that holding on for dear life. Well, I've got it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like where you've got a wasp under a glass and you're just like, no, I'm not letting that up.
Absolutely. Exactly. And it's even when they get Kirsch to come into the room, they call him from outside and get him to come into the room, and Smee's there just pressing down on this bucket that he's got the creature trapped underneath, and he's like, we've got it trapped. You can't see it because it's there. He's still terrified that it's going to get out and cause destruction. Just going back on my notes there, the one that was left that thinks he's the scientist and is looking on at the egg, that's Tootles. So you have Smee, Nibs, and Curly who are in the room with the tentacled creature, and it's Tootles is the one that's the scientist.
Excellent.
So Dr. Tootles, I guess we'll call him in the future.
Yeah, Dr. Tootles. Excellent stuff. Yeah, but I just love this whole sequence.
Yeah.
Kirsch comes in and then downloads the information off the Weyland-Yutani ship, which is really interesting because with that, there is surveillance footage of this chamber or area of the ship.
Yeah.
Where you have 4 of the eggs, the pods.
Yeah. It's about 6,
and
isn't it?
He instructs Wendy and Slightly to go and secure it effectively, and he'll send a hazmat team down. But like Wendy's there chatting to him, going, "No, but I found Joe."
Yeah,
he goes, "I don't care about that.
Exactly.
Get to it." And so she has to bring Joe along with her, which is really then sort of leads to that kind of final moment, really.
Well, exactly. Let's talk a bit about that scene, the reuniting of Joe and Wendy as well, because it is really interesting. There's that really well played once again. We've mentioned how great Sidney Chandler is in this role as Wendy, and Marcy in the body of Wendy. But these moments when she sees her brother, when she meets her brother for the first time, and he has no idea who this person is in front of him. He looks about the same age as him, right? Wendy's about the same age, maybe a little bit younger, but it's like she's playing a game with him when she's talking to him, when she's hearing his responses about who he is and what he's doing, and she's saying things to him. It's like she's just playing with him because she knows that that's her brother, right? And he'll eventually embrace her and go, "Oh my God, you're alive," kind of thing. But she expects him to see through the facade that's there, almost to see her mind and find out that it's really his sister. But we have her partner, Slightly, who knows the secret and instantly spills the secret. I love that. I think it's such a great use of this childish characters. You know, they could easily have held that for a later time. As you said, there's that moment when Wendy's on over the comms talking to Kirsch and saying, "But I found Joe," and he goes, "I don't care about that." And in any other TV show, that would have been the two of them separated again for 2 or 3 episodes almost.
Yeah.
And Wendy never got the chance to tell her brother that she's alive. But no, we have Slightly there who instantly goes, "That's your sister. We were put into other people's bodies." That's her right there, you know? I just loved it. I thought it was a really unusual way to deal with it.
It's really good. And I like then just that Joe looks to get that validation that it is his sister. And, you know, he asks her a few questions. Well, you know, one of them is, well, what did you say that Christmas? And I actually just thought it was really good. It's like,
really cute,
I still don't think my big toe looks like my thumb. It's so specific.
Yeah.
And before she's finished it, you know, he's hugging her. He realizes no one else would know this. And, you know, despite her being correct on the first question, this is another layer. He realizes then that it is his sister in the synthetic. And because I like when they first meet as well, he says, "Oh, you're synthetic. So, and you're synthetic too." And they're like, "No, we're not," because no one else knows.
Yeah.
Like literally Joe is the first person outside of the boardroom to know that they have transferred human consciousness into a synthetic. As Dame Sylvia says to Kavalier at the start when they're having their conversation about these new hybrids, she says, "We've conquered death."
Yeah.
They need to be more than immortal consumers.
Well, exactly.
Ultimately.
Yeah.
So, like, this is a real important moment in terms of that knowledge getting out there.
But it's also, you know, it leads you into something that Joe's gone through as well. You know, like not only has he lost his father, we find out his father died earlier on that year as well, but he went to his sister's funeral.
Yeah.
It's not like this great deal that was made with a young girl who was on a terminally ill ward, where this company went in and said, "We can save your sister. All you need to do is hand her over to us and we'll transfer her consciousness from her body into this body and she'll live forever." That wasn't the deal. He was told she was dead. And in the first episode, when we saw all of the bodies being transferred into the Lost Boys, we saw them being put into body bags and sent off, basically. So they're dead. Those bodies are dead, and they were sent back to their families for burial.
Yeah.
And I guess Joe specifically, maybe his dad knew before his dad died, but Joe didn't know and went to the funeral for his sister and didn't believe she survived. So it's a very traumatic experience he's gone through. We saw him living in Thailand. We saw him in New Siam. We saw him going back to his home where he shares an apartment with multiple people. He's stuck in this rut, stuck working as a medic for search and rescue. He can't even go off to pursue his dream of becoming a doctor, the thing he promised his father to do. That was quite reminiscent of what was happening with the character in Alien Romulus, who was in the mines after her parents died. And she was told that she had an 8-year stint on the planet, wasn't it? Or a 6-year stint. She'd finished her 6 years and they told her there was another 4 years to go before she paid off her debt, you know? So a similar thing happening here, with Joe, but weirdly at the hands of Wendy rather than at the hands of the company. It's Wendy that made him stay here and didn't let him go off to Mars, right?
Well, she didn't want to let go. It's that childhood, don't leave. I mean, it's that notion of the kid bursting into tears and being despondent for a month afterwards because their big brother has gone off to university.
Exactly, yeah.
I guess
she has control over
that kind of field. And I think that's what these actors who are playing the Lost Boys are conveying really well, is this sense of adolescence, this sense of being a little too young for what the context of this show is about, but in a really good way.
Yeah,
and that is part of it, that she postpones, destroys his dreams of going then. And in a sense, that's all she's done, because it's every year that he could get into the school on Mars to do the medics. He wants to bring his resignation early by 7 months, but they say no. So he can do it next year, but equally it is to the point
He has a
that
scholarship this year.
she has denied it. Exactly.
He has a scholarship this year, and that's 7 months, and the next application is 12, so he has to work for another 5 months that he wouldn't have had to work, doing these kind of jobs. And as we said, it's very much kind of grunt work, it seems. It's not like he's living in a palatial place. As we said earlier on, the show's partly about the class system and what's going on in the future with different classes. And, it seems like Joe is consigned to a specific class. He's being consigned to being part of the grunt work in the search and rescue team. He's not able to get out of there. He's living in shared accommodation. He can't afford anything, but he has an opportunity to get off planet, go and become a full-on doctor, like he promised his father, but he's stuck here. So it seems like that's the position they're keeping him in, so that's a really interesting part of the story that, again, we probably will see more of as the season goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the other interesting thing is when they get to the front of the ship where the eggs are, you have Wendy hearing that buzzing again, and the camera comes to, the alien-eyed view of it tracking down the corridors of the spaceship. But interestingly, we have them going into the room with the 4 eggs where you have that blue light above them, like you see in Ridley Scott's original, and Hermit seemingly knocking off the beam, and it looks like you're going to get a face hugger action when in fact the alien comes in and sort of bounds, and Hermes is sort of caught up in all that and falls out of a hole in the ship downwards. We don't see where they go. Yeah. But Wendy is resolute to go after him and informs slightly to stay behind to guard the omelet.
That's great.
Which is a great phrase.
It's really good.
So you have slightly then left in this, the front end of the ship with these 4 eggs. So they're kind of twitching to get open.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because earlier in the episode with the Octi eyeball, when it had come out of the cat and raced across the room to, again, get its tentacles around one of the hybrids, I was thinking, what happens if it did connect? Because ultimately, they're synthetic.
Yes.
So there's no biological material there. And equally, the same with slightly in with the eggs. If the facehuggers do pop out and jump at him and put their thing, there's nothing biological there.
No, that's true. Yeah. So
and that would
are they
be
safe?
kind of interesting. Would the chestbuster just simply burst out and slightly would be there going, well, they made an omelette out of me or something?
We have seen that with
like Ash survived, but he was cut.
But he was ripped in half. Yeah. But that was kind of ripped in half by the xenomorph tail, right? He wasn't impregnated by a facehugger or anything like that. So yeah.
Or whether the facehugger would realise, no, I can't actually lay the egg here, or the eyeball. So that's the thing. Would it carry out what it was doing if it was biological, or go, no, this isn't right,
right? Yeah.
Or I can't impregnate or do whatever the Octi eyeball was doing.
Yeah, it rips out its eye and just sits inside, moving the body with its tentacles, I guess. Anyway, creepy, but really good. Excellent. Any notes? Anything else you want to pick out from the episode we haven't talked about yet, John?
The only one for me is that we do see Yutani here.
Yes, we do.
In the conversation between her and Boy Kavalier. Where he kind of says to Atom, I want what's on that ship. But we have this moment where they're kind of talking to one another, and Kavalier, again, a bit like a kid, he's on his back like a dead bug with the iPad-like tablet between his feet.
Yeah, I know.
And she's kind of trying to say, well, can we come in and get our proprietary specimens and contents of the ship and then leave? And he's like, well, no, your lawyers can speak to my lawyers. and we'll sort something out. Yeah. And if if you attempt to do anything, it'll be considered a hostile act.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just like, oh, okay, interesting. It just got fiery.
That feels very like two massive nations that don't particularly like each other, isn't it? Having that conversation. That was a really interesting moment. Great to see a member of Weyland-Yutani there, Miss Yutani herself. So really cool. We mentioned earlier on a little bit about the name of the episode called Mr. October. Hermit specifically explains it in the episode when he finds the baseball from Reggie Jackson. They talk about the advice from their father, where he told them Mr. October is the person you are when you shine. And as I mentioned earlier on, that's connected to Reggie Jackson when he stepped up and became the best player possible for the day that was required for his team. So that's where that all comes from. And the other one to mention, the scene where there's the flashback to Joe with his father watching baseball on TV. That's Noah Hawley with his own son watching baseball on TV. And that's really cool. I recognize Noah Hawley anywhere there after all the interviews that he's been doing for Alien Earth over the last couple of weeks as well, particularly. So kind of cool that he gets a little flashback scene, and very cool that it's his own son in there as well.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, definitely.
Excellent.
But Derek, what did you think of Alien Earth Episode 2, Mr. October?
I am absolutely all in on this show. That scene in the stairwell was just the icing on the cake. It was almost like the way that they've structured the show was the first episode was the setup, the establishing episode, and the second episode was the action episode with a bit more establishing, a bit more concepts of the universe coming in, but it felt almost like the 1-2 punch of Alien and Aliens. You know, if you felt there wasn't enough xenomorph in the first episode, guess how many people the xenomorph kills in the second episode? Because I couldn't count them at all. But also the fact that they've kind of taken the cue from the conversation back in Aliens, one that's always puzzled Aliens fans, where one of the colonial marines says, are we out here on just another bug hunt? Meaning that these people have met bugs in the past. They've met aliens in the past. The xenomorphs aren't the only aliens in the galaxy. It seems like they've taken the jumping off point there, created some brand new aliens that are just as terrifying from the outer reaches of space, and put them in here to kill and destroy all humans in New Siam. I love it. I love it. It's so exciting and so interesting. They've done such a great job building on what I was expecting and creating something that I'm excited for now and cannot wait for the next episode. How about yourself, John? What did you think of Alien Earth Episode 2, Mr. October?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I'd give it 5 cat's eyes out of 5. Can you imagine if they lined the central line down the road, just started popping out with octi eyeballs?
Oh, I'd never get out of the car. There's no way.
Absolutely. Yeah, I just really, really enjoyed this. I loved seeing the new species, and just what they were doing with it. It was just really gruesome. Love the xenomorph stuff. Just how much of a fast killing machine this is, especially with the lords and ladies of the upper floors in the apartment block. I just love how these kids are giving kid energy in this really adult world.
Absolutely.
And I think the whole thing for me, it's just really intriguing. Just as Hermit and Wendy meet and realize that they're brother and sister, Hermit is taken out by the xenomorph. What's going to happen to him there? It's really intriguing. Is he going to just get strung up and be prepared for a face hugger? I like the notion that there's potentially another alien out there and other face huggers from not just in the cryo chamber like we saw in the first episode, but also in this in the medical bay. So all of this is really intriguing to see how it goes. So I can't wait for the next episode. So absolutely. 5 cat's eyes out of 5.
Fantastic. New episodes every Tuesday night in the US and Wednesday very early in the morning for us. If we were to stay up and watch them, it'd be like 1 a.m. To watch them, and it would be bad enough if this was the last thing you saw before bed. let alone waking up in the middle of the night to watch the xenomorphs rip people apart. We will be watching it. We will be recording our podcast every Thursday, so we want to hear your thoughts about each episode of Alien Earth. You can email us to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com or pop on over to our Facebook group and leave your thoughts on the spoiler posts on there on facebook.com/groups/TV Podcast Industries. As I mentioned last episode, we do have some feedback in the first couple of episodes. We're going to start out with an email from Coffee and Vodka.
Yes, Coffee and Vodka says, greetings fellow creature ferrying defenders. A solid setup for this season, introducing Wendy, our point of view protagonist, and a few seasons more with multiple threats from 5 warring corporate families, alien antagonists, and interpersonal conflicts. With Fargo and Legion under his belt, it's no wonder FX gave him carte blanche to this latest entry in the Alien franchise, and so far, so great. Set 2 years before 1979's Alien, it offers up a cursory but welcome history of the planetary corporatocracy. Within the world building, we've got cyborgs, synths, and hybrids, oh my, with troops, techs, healthcare workers, and it seems pretty much everyone at the institution's beck and call. As a dystopian series, not much of an upbeat backdrop to pull off entertainment, but he's managed it with intrigue and action aplenty. In short, something I would normally avoid as drama for its own sake, but have been drawn into by both the franchise and the showrunner, and I'm glad I was. Favourite moments, the kids dealing with the eyeball thingy, and seeing the return of the tech of the first Alien movie. Yours? 5 children's crusades, bug-eyed cats, and xenomorph party tricks out of 5. Peace and take care. Coffee and Vodka.
Fantastic. Coffee and Vodka.
Excellent stuff. Yes, like the party tricks there. What are my favourite moments? Definitely the eyeball. I'm calling it Octi eyeball. I just thought that was really good with the cat. I think, I don't think I've seen anything like that. I think the pod hanging from the ceiling, as we were saying, something similar in Half-Life.
Yeah.
But again, we'll wait to see actually what horrors it produces.
Absolutely.
I think the sucking of the blood thing, you've always seen something like that, but again, it's a nice new entry into it. Where
it's just the fact that it kind of, as we mentioned last episode, it's not that it sucked it was like that it just filled up immediately with the insides of another of the creature it's sucking on, which in this case turned out to be a human. It's just so disgusting, so awful and so horrific to watch. But for me, my big one, I've mentioned a few times this episode, my big one is the stairwell scene. I thought that was so
really
good, so exciting. But there's loads of stuff. I have to say, Timothy Oliphant as Kirsch is someone that I'm really enjoying how he's playing his role, all the lines he's saying, and it's almost his disdain for the idea that these kids who are hybrids could possibly be still human. He's almost looking at them going, why would you want to be human? You'd be as cool as me. And he's teaching them the ways or his ways when he's out of sight of Sylvia. As you mentioned earlier on, John, he even told them when he was leading the mission that fear is for animals. You're not animals anymore, basically. So he's trying to guide them down a path that Sylvia, I don't think, or Sylvia wouldn't be happy with. So I'm really enjoying seeing him on screen, and he's a great presence in the show. Yeah.
I think as well, some of my favourite moments on an interpersonal sort of level, I think, are how the kids are interacting with the wider world. I just think it's really well observed and realized. I also really like the notion of, I've always liked sci-fi dystopias, and what are they? How do they come? What form do they come in? And, is it kind of like the biological determinism from Brave New World? Is it the corporate determinism like from Blade Runner and so on? Is it the dystopian administrative bureaucracy, like you got in Equilibrium and that kind of thing? And I'm kind of enjoying just the scene setting of the corporatocracy, as you describe it, Coffee and Vodka, with, the Weyland-Yutanis and so on, just how that all works together. So, yeah, absolutely. And there's so many moments and aspects to this show that I'm really, really enjoying.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see how the other 6 episodes play out. Great stuff, Coffee Vodka. Huge cheers for planetary corporatocracy. That is a fantastic word that I really should have looked up before we got into 2 episodes of the podcast. So thanks so much for giving that to us. Hopefully we'll remember it next time when we need to use it. Excellent stuff. Over on our Facebook group, a couple of comments on the Facebook chat. Lots of our wonderful listeners hopefully going to be watching along with this. Angie Arhus is going to be watching it. Paul Tenchi Lee said he's going to be watching it in the next couple of days. John Higley hopefully going to be watching along. And Sam Lowe has already begun. She says Timothy Oliphant can get it always. I really enjoy this show. I'm a huge Xenomorph fan, and I really like how the show is paying tribute to the movies. The iconic hair and clothing styles of the 80s was back in full swing. I can tell these creators are fans, and I enjoy it so much.
Excellent stuff, Sam.
Thanks, Sam.
Yeah, really, really with you on that. Like, just that whole scene in, the mother ship with Morrow at the console.
Absolutely.
Just was so good. Yeah, the hair, certainly Timothy Oliphant's really, really good. So, yeah, so glad you're enjoying it. And yeah, fantastic. You can see that they really enjoy this world and enjoy playing in it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Timothy Oliphant's hair, I think you mentioned at the interview that we were at that it's a tribute to Roy Batty from Blade Runner, Rutger Hauer's character, who had the white hair and was the synth there. So that was the choice he made for the character. And it just looks cool on him. What doesn't look cool on Timothy Oliphant? I remember watching him back in Go back in 1996, I think it was, when that came out in 1988, somewhere around then, and just falling in love with him back then. And he's been so cool in everything he's been in since then. So
yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, so here he is again. I loved in the interview that we were at. I loved where he was being asked why he did it. He was like, "That guy, Noah Hawley. They said he was making something new, and I wanted to be in it. It just happened to be Alien, but I could have done anything." So I love that.
Yeah, that is really cool. Excellent stuff. Also on feedback, Richard Blaze said, cracking pair of openers, so many good things to like about them, but overall the look and feel is absolutely spot on. Mm-hmm. And Paul Tian-Shi Lee says, I've just missed your recording time, but wanted to add my 2 very big thumbs up. I also finally watched Alien Romulus, so I'm more or less caught up with the releases. We'll try to get my thoughts in when your episode 3 spoiler post comes out. Excellent stuff, Paul. Really glad you're up to date. Alien Romulus is again, was another cracking, Alien movie. And I'm glad you're really enjoying, these first 2 episodes of Alien Earth, and the same for yourself, Richard.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. Stay on board and keep sending in your feedback to us. We'd love to hear your thoughts as the show comes out. And as I mentioned, spoiler posts go up every Wednesday at 1 a.m. GMT as the episodes are released on Disney Plus. So you can pop in there and leave your thoughts. Great stuff. I think that's it for our coverage of Alien Earth episode 2. Mr. October.
Yes, thank you so much, fellow aliens and Lost Boys, for your feedback. Mm-hmm. Great to hear your thoughts, so keep them coming in for the other episodes of this first series of Alien Earth. We will be back with our 3rd discussion of the 3rd episode of Alien Earth, Metamorphosis. That will be coming out on Wednesday next week. Can't wait to see that, but thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you again next time.
Yes, until next week, keep watching, keep listening, and of course, keep screaming.
Bye.
Bye. That's not really a scream.
No, it wasn't.